Thank you again for joining today's webinar, Working Smarter, How Artificial Intelligence Augments Enterprise Physical Security Operations. I'd now like to welcome today's panel. John Brereton is the Director of Physical Security at Robinhood. Ava Pina is Chief Technology Officer at Carrier Linnell S2. Dustin Rabbach is Senior Manager, Security Operations at Ricoh USA Inc. And lastly, rounding out our panel today is Sam Joseph, co-founder and CEO of Hakimo. Again, bios for each are available in the speaker biography module to the left of the media player. And welcome to you all. Sam, I'll hand things over to you.
Thanks, Raquel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. Welcome to the ASIS webinar on Working Smarter, How AI Augments Enterprise Physical Security Operations. The webinar is for 1 hour, as Raquel mentioned, and we have 3 broad parts to the webinar. First, we will discuss some of the challenges that enterprise security teams face. Then we'll talk about AI and how AI can help solve some of those challenges. And in the third part, we'll talk about how AI can help transform all the data generated by enterprise security systems into actionable insights. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. And throughout the webinar, you can post your questions on the Q&A box that you see. Let's jump right in and start with a round of introductions. My name is Sam Joseph, and I'm the co-founder and CEO at Hakimo, and I'm honored to be the moderator of this panel. And Hakimo, as Raquel mentioned, is an AI solution that's a force multiplier for enterprise security teams that help reduce nuisance alarms, detect tailgating, give actionable insights, and enable remote guarding. And we have a strategic partnership with Linnell S2 that we announced yesterday, which is exciting. And prior to starting Hakimo, I was an AI researcher as a PhD candidate at Stanford University, working on developing cutting-edge AI algorithms for various use cases, from medicine applications all the way to wireless communication. With that, I'll let John do an introduction. John, would you mind talking about your background and what you do today at Robinhood?
Yeah, thanks, Sam, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Really excited to be here. So, yeah, John Brereton. I lead the physical security department at Robinhood. I joined Robinhood in 2019 as the head of physical security, where I focus on development and execution of our strategic security framework. But really, most importantly, the safety and security of Robinhoodies. Prior to joining Robinhood, I attended Texas Christian University, TCU, go Frogs. They're also number 4 in the country right now, for those that care about college football. I studied biology and behavioral science. After college, I worked as an EMT for the state of California, and I also volunteered with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, and I also coached youth lacrosse. I broke into the industry working for a protective security firm, providing executive protection for ultra-high net worth families, as well as providing risk consultation for San Francisco Bay Area-based Fortune 500 companies and their executives. And when I'm not working, I enjoy being outdoors, coaching youth sports, and trying new restaurants. So really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, John. Author Dustin.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. My name is Dustin Rabbach. I am the Senior Manager of Security Operations for Ricoh USA. I manage, among other things, the Security Operations Center, 24/7 monitoring center for North America, which includes Canada, Latin America, and the US. I also do high volume asset protection, along with securing the access control systems and maintaining the video solutions for Ricoh USA as well. Prior to Ricoh, I was active duty United States Air Force, kind of jumped me into the physical security industry. I'm still in the Air Force Reserves now, 19 years total. What really jump-started physical security for me was transitioning from law enforcement to physical security in Air Force One security when I was active duty military, doing a lot of alarm monitoring and access control for Air Force One. So that's what you have for me, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Thanks, Dustin. Eva.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks again for joining on the behalf of the panel. My name is Eva Pina. I am the CTO and engineering leader for Lanellis2, which is a company under the Carrier HVAC and Building Controls Group. My background is in software development, system design, engineering, obviously developing software, but really driving security and automation into the next gen enterprise solutions. So we are the manufacturer of security software deployed globally, and as such, we work with partnerships such as the one recently just announced to propel this physical security across all the enterprises and really drive that into all the different verticals. So happy to be here to speak about this topic. I think it's very timely as this industry continues to transform and continues to drive further innovation. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, Eva. Looking forward to hearing more about your insights. Perfect. Let's jump to the first section of the webinar, which is going over some of the challenges that enterprise security teams face. And we'll start off with John. John, what are some of the challenges that you face running corporate security at Robinhood, and maybe some of the things that frustrate you, or what are some of the challenges that you think should be solved by AI?
Well, we only have an hour, so I could go through for much longer than that my frustrations, but I'll keep it brief, or try to at least. But yes, simply put, I mean, all those in the audience are aware, technology advancements in the physical security industry are lagging by at least, 5 to 10 years, and integrations are still pretty limited. So, end users are desperately looking for better solutions to those that long list of issues that we deal with on a daily basis. But at Robinhood, I would say, the top 3 challenges we face as a program, starting with, managing competing priorities. We're operating within a very dynamic, disruptive financial institution. And so there's constantly, inputs coming in from left and right, 360 degrees. And so mastering time management and limiting those distractions is really critical to the success of our team. And also, at Robinhood, we actually conducted a time study at the end of 2021 in the GSOC, and the findings were astonishing. AI has definitely helped cut down on some of this, but the fact remains that video review and the confirmation, of what's going on within an incident is necessary for accuracy with any incident. So that human interaction. I think the second one would be anomaly detection, and really a need for better early warning systems. And how many times have anyone in the audience heard somebody say, "I should have seen that coming," or "I should have acted sooner"? Well, imagine being able to identify a vehicle without even being able to read the license plate, or identify a person without being able to even see their face. I thought gate detection was pretty cool, pretty slick 2 years ago, but imagine being able to detect humans from a mile away based on blood flow, breathing, heartbeat, all these ultrasonic vibrations in the human body. Then the last one to round it out is identifying good ROI. Again, operating in this very dynamic environment, without an abundance of reliable metrics. This makes us very reliant on piloting certain initiatives, makes budget planning more difficult, and it really makes decision-making more burdensome with a lower degree of confidence. So you really need to have those success metrics and be able to quantify a project's value to speak security to your CFO or CEO and do it really well. And I guess as a bonus for all of our manufacturers, integrators out there, I guess, frustration with lag time with integrations. Integrations are out there, but even some of the biggest security technology firms still are not playing nicely with the most common internal systems that large firms are relying on, such as Workday or Slack. So, that needs to change, and integrations should be automatic. We're just not there yet.
Got it. Great points, John. And especially in terms of lagging behind other technologies, it's very evident with cybersecurity. In cybersecurity, there are tools to solve many of these, almost all of these equivalent problems in cybersecurity, but we in physical security are lagging behind by many years or even a decade. Thanks, John, for that. Dustin, how do you think these challenges translate to the actual SOC and running a security operations center? What are some of the challenges that you specifically see within the SOC?
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, John, you really set it up for me here. There's plenty of challenges in the SOC specifically when you don't have a lot of AI and you're utilizing simply just the legacy access control systems to monitor and try to prevent, incidents from happening and keeping your employees safe. One of the biggest issues you have before we get to time management, which is another big one, is nuisance alarms. And nuisance alarms really tie down the time that your personnel in your SOC have to deal with the real issues that are occurring. You want to see what's really going on, and you want to prevent the real issues, but you're kind of bogged down quite frequently by a lot of nuisance alarms. AI technology really helps with nuisance alarms, and I think there's a big benefit pushing forward as the technology starts to catch up with the industry. Additionally, as John had mentioned, there's a lot of anomalies that occur when you have compliance issues to deal with. Tailgating is a big concern, and I think tailgating in general, dealing with access control systems is a benefit that AI can really help out with, to where obviously you have certain access control monitoring in place, but they don't necessarily detect without integrations, how many people come in through a door portal at one time, and AI really has paved the way with being able to identify these type of anomalies. Additionally, with AI and kind of conversing everything into reports, you could take a lot of different systems and obviously pull it into one big report. So when you're trying to identify the utilization of your security systems and the health of everything, you obviously want to know what's going on and what is down in real time. So when you're dealing with multiple systems, video management systems, along with legacy access control systems, there's a lot of different clicks, a lot of movement. You may not have all the screen time, especially with other technologies that your SOC is using as well to identify those anomalies in a real-time fashion. So AI can help pull all that into one reporting sequence from multiple systems.
Great, Dustin. And then on the topic of saving time and time management, I assume SOC operators should be spending their time on dealing with real-world events that need human attention rather than just clearing alarms. Like, for example, we have the storm going on, which you're right in the eye of, Dustin. So SOC operators should be responding to that, keep ensuring that the employees are safe and so on, and not clearing alarms or
that's correct. So it's correct. So instead of having to, whether you need to throw more personnel into a SOC environment, you have the ability to take what you already have, cut down the time you are wasting on the distractions and the nuisance alarms, and potentially add more technologies that can help to, again, track the storm that I'm right on the eye on right now here in Florida, as well as, tracking of equipment through, tracking technologies. You can throw those different technologies on top of what the SOC already does with access control without having to add more people, since your time has now been pushed to the real issues.
Yeah, good. And on the topic of system health, that's also very crucial, because your cameras are supposed to record everything, and if the camera goes down and if you don't even know about it, then the whole purpose of having a camera there is defeated. Great points, John and Dustin. Anything else that any of the panelists would like to add in this section, talking about challenges that can be alleviated by AI?
Yes, Sam, if I could maybe just add a little, few more points, maybe. I think both gentlemen mentioned a lot of data that are being generated through the various systems that are in play at the SOC. So you've got data coming in from access control, video surveillance, intrusion detection, perimeter detection. You've got your news feeds, you've got weather, right, as happening now. It is humanly impossible to be able to correlate all that data. And so therefore, I think the introduction of AI technologies into that particular environment will only continue to grow. I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface. And I think we've identified really good key use cases that both gentlemen have enumerated that are probably the biggest value driver. But introduction of that technology is only going to be much more useful as we go forward with access control and security systems in general.
Yeah, great point, Ava. Thank you. Great segue to our first poll of the webinar. Raquel, if we can bring up the poll. So the question is, how familiar are you with the usage of AI in security? We have a very diverse audience from around the world today. So I will give the three options. One is if you are very familiar with AI, you understand the benefits of AI, and you already use AI. If your organization already uses AI, you can choose the first option. If you understand the benefits, but you're planning to deploy AI, but haven't deployed AI in your security operations, you can choose the second option. And the third option is that you're not at all familiar with AI and you're learning more about AI through webinars like this one. I'll give a minute for everyone to vote on the poll.
Great, thank you, Sam. And while we wait for everyone to respond, I just want to add that the poll question will appear in your slides module. So just click the button that corresponds with the answer that best relates to your current organization or your current involvement with AI and security. So again, how familiar are you with the usage of AI in security? Very familiar, you understand the benefits, or not familiar at all. So looking at how many people have responded, we're going to leave this up for just a few more seconds, just to allow a few more people to input or respond to the question, rather. So again, in the slide module, simply click the answer that corresponds with the answer that best addresses the following. How familiar are you with the usage of AI in security? We're about 51%, so we'll leave it up just a bit longer. And then, Sam, in just a moment, I will pass things back to you so we can take a look at the results to see how our audience stands with this question. And last time, how familiar are you with the usage of AI in security? Very familiar. My organization already uses AI. You understand the benefits and planning to deploy AI soon, or not familiar at all, learning more about the technology. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and flip to the results. And Sam, if you'd like to address it, I'll hand it back to you.
I think most of the audience falls into the second or the third categories. 42% understand the benefits of AI, planning to deploy AI soon. That's great. And there is more than 1/3 of the audience who are learning more about the technology, which is a great segue to our next section on an overview of AI and how AI can help solve some of the challenges that we discussed earlier. So Raquel, if you can move to the next slide, that'd be great. Okay, perfect. So now we'll discuss how AI can help solve some of these challenges. And before going in there, I would like to give a quick overview of what AI means and a quick background on AI. AI, or artificial intelligence, is a broad term. People use it in various contexts these days. But in a broad sense, it means anything or a piece of software or anything that automates things that typically need human input or human decision making. So if there's a task that you need a human to sit down and do, if a machine can do it, then that you can call that machine or that piece of software an AI solution or an AI software. And AI has been around for many decades. It started out with simple rule-based logic. We know, like, machines beating like world champions in chess many decades ago. But what has recently happened is this development or the advancement in this technique called deep learning. And deep learning is a fancy term that means that using a neural network. Neural network is a term for a mathematical algorithm that represents or that resembles how human brain makes decisions through neurons. So that's why it's called a neural network. And again, this is also not something new. This was originally invented 50, 60 years ago. But recently, what has changed is that we have a lot of data to train some of these algorithms. And also we have the computational power that we have has also dramatically increased over the last 10 or so years, especially around GPUs or graphical processing units, which if you're into gaming, you will be familiar with them. These are specific processing chips that can do multiple computations in parallel. And such chips have accelerated the development of AI or deep learning in general. And the biggest breakthrough there was in 2012 when there was a group of researchers from Caltech who published this paper where they showed that a deep neural network can recognize what's happening, recognize an image better than a human. This happened about 8 to 10 years ago. And that set off a revolution in terms of AI and deep learning. Even though it started out with images, today AI and deep learning neural networks are used for a variety of use cases, from voice. Like every time you talk to Siri or Alexa, your voice is analyzed by a deep neural network. It's also used for processing text or for translation. If you use Google Translate or any other translation service out there, it will be powered by a deep neural network. So today deep learning algorithms, or AI in general, can handle a variety of inputs, not just video or images, but a variety of use cases, any structured data. There are also cases where AI performs better than a traditional algorithm for processing MRI images. So it could be as diverse as a simple image to like text, to voice, to even like data generated by an MRI machine. So that's a quick overview of AI and background of AI and where we are in terms of AI. And applying AI to security industry, there are a lot of use cases, obviously with video to begin with, but it's not just restricted to video. Access control generates a ton of information, and then if you combine video with access control and then add AI on top, it can lead to a lot of use cases, leading to reduced cost and more effectiveness for security teams. So I'll hand things over to John. Again, going back to some of the challenges that you mentioned earlier, running a corporate security team. How do you see AI solving some of those challenges, or where do you see the most potential of AI from a corporate security perspective?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. It's also great to see the poll results to understand kind of where people are at in their familiarity with AI. It looks like close to 80% have not deployed it and aren't that familiar with it. So excited to have those folks on here to learn more. And I know I mentioned earlier that we're behind in technology, but nonetheless, overall, on a more positive note, technology capabilities have still increased year over year, and conversely, the cost of the software and the devices has gone down, making this technology more affordable and accessible. So those are huge wins for myself, for my peers, and anyone that's in the industry. And so I know I'm sort of contradicting myself here, but modern IT adoption has also made more integrations a reality. I know I mentioned we need more integrations, but I think my point is that we need to take advantage of what is at our fingertips today and continue to provide feedback as end users. So I know Ava's on the call and she's listening. So, kind of the top 3 examples of how AI is helping Robinhood specifically. I mentioned before, time is our greatest asset. And our GSOC was, we conducted time study annually. In 2021, we were responding to about 38 hours of alarms and about 20 hours of incidents a week. That might be a low number for some of you on the call. Maybe it's really, really high for others. But, fun fact, since we deployed AI solutions at Robinhood in our GSOC specifically, 80% of those alarms have been reduced. AI has also reduced our incident response times from about 4 to 5 minutes down to 1 to 2 minutes. And different varying degrees of obviously resolution there, but overall, a huge improvement. And so, clearly translating to operational efficiencies. So cutting down on the time required to perform tasks, again, in a space where seconds matter, that's huge. The second thing I would say is keeping us left of bang. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that term, but it's the early threat and BOLO identification, whether it be through facial recognition, through crowd monitoring during events and protecting executives while public speaking. These are all enhanced by AI. The earlier we can identify something as a dumpster fire, if you will, the faster we can respond and stomp that out before growing into a wildfire, or completely avoid it altogether. So, when we talk about defense in depth or layers of defense, AI is really that most outer rung, detecting abnormalities and notifying us before it's too late, whether it's an active shooter, before they even step foot on a property that you're charged with protecting, or noticing trends that can inform your strategy and make those critical decisions faster and smarter. And I guess the final one is actually something I don't think many people talk about, is measuring personnel performance. We're a 24/7 industry, and keeping our people safe never stops. And AI allows us to supplement our operators in the field and obviously our GSOC operators in the SOC. But we're always operating, or we have been, especially this year, in a world of limited resources, and human error is really a factor that we can never escape. And so, going back to this idea of this time study with the GSOC, I'm sure everyone's getting sick of me saying this, but if you do something similar to this, you should see the team spending significantly less time on these tasks. And if you're not, you should be asking why. And if it's a vendor and it's a vendor performance issue, then that acronym RFP should cross your mind. That kind of rounds it out. Like I said, there's so many different applications for AI and how that will enhance security operations, and the list goes on and on and on. Like Sam was briefly introducing, what AI is and how it's evolved over the years. I mean, the applications are truly endless. And my point earlier is that we've made a lot of advancements. We're still lagging behind. And so the more people that are getting on board with AI, interfacing with it and providing feedback as an end user, the faster we're going to propel AI in that advancement. Those are kind of the main three from me, and how that's really helping Robinhood.
Thanks, John. That's a great time saving there. The numbers that you had, great improvement there. Dustin, how about you at Ricoh? How is AI helping your security operations, and how is AI helping you to do more with existing resources?
So kind of expanding on what John already said, he had mentioned since inception of his AI solution, 80% reduction in alarms. We're at 89% just from the get-go of our inception with our AI solution that we use. That's looking over 3.5 million events. So as you can tell, false alarms and the time you spend as an operator acknowledging those false alarms when you're not spending it on the real events that are occurring, I mean, it's a huge difference. And as John mentioned, a few seconds is the difference between what you need to get done and what you're not finding out, what could be occurring in your environments. So creating that time optimization is amazing with the AI solution that we use. The operators, I mean, depending on how many locations you have, at least for our solution with Ricoh, I mean, you could be seeing hundreds to up to 1,000 alarms coming in our legacy access systems every hour. And when you have one or two operators, depending on how big your SOC is, I mean, you're bogged down with precious seconds per alarm event. So with a reduction of 89% that we've seen of just the false alarms, just that noise that's automatically acknowledged in our access control systems by the AI solution, so the operators don't even have to see it, is an extreme benefit. And express that piece with the AI solution that we use. Again, those alarms are completely bidirectional. So the AI solution takes in, and let me just back up for a second. We use two access control systems as well. So when we have an operator running one access control system and another running a second, again, you're stuck with two separate operators, and trying to get those converged is, very time consuming and can cost a lot. The AI solution actually takes both of those systems and ingests them both at one time. And again, it's 89% reduction of alarms on both systems that the operators don't even have to see, in whether they're looking at the AI solution interface or whether they're looking at the legacy systems. Those alarms are completely wiped out prior to even taking a look at them and acknowledging them. And just to expand on that piece a little bit, you want accuracy. So if your AI solution is not accurate and you have any faults whatsoever, even just that one fault, that's a problem. And to have a potential AI solution that doesn't provide any failures at that 89% reduction rate of those false positives is amazing.
Great. Great to hear that, Dustin. And then we can also talk about tailgating, because that was another concern, another challenge that you were mentioning earlier. If you can mention a couple of points on that, on how AI could help on some of those use cases also, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. Similar to nuisance alarms, tailgating is a problem. As we all know, legacy access control systems, you get granted entries, denied entries. You don't see, even with video linked in your systems, unless you're adding more events and alarms for your granted entries that your monitoring team is looking at, if you have a monitoring team, you're not seeing tailgating. The AI solution takes, obviously, the video and the legacy access control systems events and determines, based on the number of card swipes, how many people walk in, and signals and creates an alarm into the interface to help with the tailgating. So compliance, depending on whether you have high trust environments, PCI environments, whatever compliance environments you have, many requirements are tailgating. And the legacy access control systems don't necessarily have the ability to detect those. AI solutions will really benefit in any corporation to have that tailgating on top of the nuisance alarms added into their repertoire.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. Great points. So, Eva, we have seen from John and Dustin on how AI can help security operations teams today. What will you add to that, and then where do you see this going in the future, Eva?
Yeah, great points, and definitely really good use cases, and great numbers, right? Great metrics in terms of the implementation and then the results that are seen relatively quickly with very large amounts of data. So, I think as was mentioned, those are layers of protection that continue to move from the edge sort of the security system all the way through to the operator screens. As the computing power continues to drop, the costs continue to be, lower, but the power of the compute at the edge continues to increase, even including robotics as part of that going forward. Clearly, there is a play here. And so when we talk about what's the future, I clearly see that there is a role of stitching those AI solutions together, resulting in a much richer automation. And so as a result of this automation, we will continue to see greater efficiency, higher levels of return, for sure, as people look at deploying various solutions, whether it's full security with video, with access, and then enabled through AI stitching across the board, and bringing different media into their overall security posture. Those trends will continue to grow and continue to drive. We've seen automation in other industries sort of, transform those industries and make them a lot more efficient and a lot more deployable and a lot more affordable. And I think that's the future. It's really going through and stitching those solutions together and making them orchestrate and sort of work in the most efficient way possible, not eliminating humans by any means, but certainly augmenting the human decision-making and enabling those people then in the roles such as John and Dustin to focus on their strategic imperatives for the corporations.
Thanks, Eva. So what AI is doing today itself is exciting, and the future is even more exciting. So great to hear that from you, Eva.
And
John,
Sam, can I chime in 1 second?
Yeah, sure, Dustin. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to expand on what Eva said, we do not want to get rid of the human element at all. AI is a helpful feature, and we know we were not just going to automate everything completely. But one thing I wanted to expand upon on my tailgating quick was with the inception of our AI solution, analyzing over 700,000 access granted events. The AI has been able to identify 25,000 tailgating events. So if you take those numbers, I mean, that's a very high amount of tailgating that obviously as a company you need to identify and bring up to the correct people to mitigate those issues and potentially, you just have to get rid of the tailgating as a whole. And it's a cultural change. There's a lot of companies just come in, they don't understand the reason for swiping, card access at every time they come in, whether could just be life safety, could be we need to know who's all in the building at one time if there's an event. There's a lot of use cases that people just don't understand, and tailgating really skews that data.
Totally, and then you need an AI solution to even know the extent to which tailgating has happened before you can take action against it. Great point, Dustin. Perfect. Let's wrap up this section and go do a second poll. Raquel, if we can bring up the poll quickly.
All right.
The second poll, yeah, go ahead, Raquel.
Sorry, Sam. So let's go ahead and get into our last poll of the day. So if you could please respond to the following. And again, just look in the slides module to select the answer that best corresponds to the following. What would be the most helpful insights for your organization? Insider threat, system health monitoring, operator productivity assessment, space utilization and occupancy, or all of the above. So let's take just a moment and have our audience respond to the following question. What would be the most helpful insights for your organization? So again, looking in the slides module, simply select the option that corresponds best to the answer. We're going to leave this up for just a few moments, but not too much long. I don't want to take too much time away from this very interesting discussion that we have going on here. So last few questions, we have about 30% of the audience who attended. Again, select the answer to the following. What would be the most helpful insights for your organization? Insider threat, system health monitoring, operator productivity assessment, space utilization and occupancy, or all of the above. All right, and I am going to go ahead and show the results now. And Sam, if you'd like to comment, feel free.
Okay, thanks, Raquel. Looks like insider threats are the biggest one, and all of the above is actually more than half of the audience thinks all four insights: insider threats, health monitoring, operator productivity, space utilization. All of them are important, and within the four, insider threats seem to be the biggest one. This is a great segue to our next section on how AI can help take the data that physical security systems generate and give you actionable insights from those. Raquel, if you can move to the next slide. So let's talk about insights that AI can generate from the data. And let's start with John. What do you think are the best insights, or what are some insights that AI can generate and that's useful for the organization, and how does that tie back to the broader organization and not just the security team?
Yeah, no, it's a great topic. The pandemic really set us back, but with more in-person interactions, as of recent, we are moving closer to enterprise adoption of AI and other technologies to sort of supplement or augment our programs. and really revolutionizing the physical security industry. With every organization, you have key performance indicators, and if you don't, you should strongly consider it implementing a way of measuring key performance indicators or KPIs. But KPIs that really matter, and to provide you with actionable insight, on how to leverage these KPIs to improve your performance. And to do that, you need good data and you need reliable metrics. When your success is dependent on holistic risk management, these metrics really allow you to prioritize these risks and determine your organization's appetite for that risk. At Robinhood, I talk to my team often. It is about transforming the entire team into business enablers. And many of my peers know we're often viewed as a cost center. So that's always an uphill battle. Yet we host almost as much, if not more, data than other teams across the enterprise, whether it be badging data or video storage, et cetera. And that data lake can be daunting. But what if we can use this data to improve performance, not just on our own team, but that of the entire company? So number one is business intelligence and driving decisions. Right now, at least at Robinhood, return to office is top of mind, and office utilization, spatial utilization, the times people are coming in, because it's much different than it was pre-pandemic. Everybody knows that. The teams that are coming in, the areas of the office that people are using more, what they're using them for, translating to workplace and real estate decisions. How many supplies should we buy? How many workstations should be deployed in the office? How many, conference rooms to breakout space ratio? Again, going back to RTO is just one example. So really, leveraging that business intelligence to drive decisions. And I think that the second one for me would be savings and leveraging technology to reduce costs. You're going to look really good to your CEO and CFO, when end of year comes and you're able to show how you have identified these areas to save the company money, whether directly through labor costs or actual dollars saved. And this year was paramount for us and for a lot of people in the economic environment that we're operating in. For some more metrics from Robinhood to throw out, we reevaluated earlier this year our whole GSOC team structure to meet some of our cost avoidance goals and increase operational efficiency. And we ended up reducing about 11,000 hours and $800,000 annually. And that was a direct result of the information and the data that we were able to gather from these AI solutions that we have deployed. And I guess the final piece, I know a lot of people mentioned threat intelligence, insider risk, is using the data that we're getting and being able to up-level your ability to mitigate not only external risk, but also that internal risk, and those presented by insider risk. And in my opinion, it's one of the greatest risks now with the amount of layoffs happening and disgruntled employees, whether directly impacted or not. So measuring behavior anomalies and through the use of better technologies such as biometrics, is one example. It's so important right now. And again, with the use of AI, sifting through that data, focusing on what really matters will give you the ability to reduce risk and make your program more efficient.
Yeah, thanks, John. Great points, and especially on the insider threat part at the end, which is also one of the points that came up on the poll. Dustin, what would you add to that? You're talking about tailgating, which is an insider threat. So maybe you can explain more, dive a bit deeper on those insights and those metrics that you get through AI solutions.
Yeah, tailgating in itself, I mean, it can be just noise, just like any other events you have. You have to take that data and put it into the correct formats, and having the correct UI, artificial intelligence tools to take that data and put it into reliable and accurate information is the key. The AI solution with the insights that we get from the data not only can identify the tailgating that occurs, but also you can easily generate reports on which doors are your top offending doors. Obviously, if you have tailgating that occurs just because it comes off on a door that's a huge customer entrance door that obviously people don't swipe because it's customers, you don't want that noise, but you want to see those key locations. So not only can insights from the data that you collect identify the tailgating, but it can identify who's tailgating, how many times they're allowing tailgating on the individual specifically, and what key doors or portals are specifically involved as the most tailgate offending locations. So taking that data and putting it into valuable data is the key for me. I mean, data itself is just noise. It's how you use your data.
Great insight there. Data itself is not useful. You need to get metrics and insights out of that data to be useful or actionable. Eva, do you have anything to add to close out on the insights piece on how we can bring data together and then take actions based on that?
Sure, yes, Sam, and great insights definitely from, again, John and Dustin on how they have been able to reduce some of the costs, increase efficiencies, et cetera. I think the other point here is we're talking physical security, but physical security lives in a world that is completely integrated now. And so when we talk about network layers, network security, and how the two can be bridged together, employing AI, again, the audience indicated insider threats, right? I mean, as sort of one of their biggest concerns. So tying together information and insights that come from your physical enterprise security system together from your network security systems and driving further AI analysis on that, I believe would greatly help in reduction of insider threats. So whether that's, employing facial recognition at the edge as solutions continue to evolve, whether looking how someone accessed a network resource, wherever they may be physically, as opposed to where they should be physically and accessing what they should or should not be accessing, tying that together and sifting through, hundreds of thousands of transactions. Again, very manual, labor-intensive process, probably very error-prone and not very accurate. So bringing those solutions together and expanding them beyond physical security, where those use cases make the most sense, I think, again, that there is a lot of benefit there that would drive further business insights and investments into securing, one or shoring up one area of your security infrastructure or another.
Yeah, thanks. I have a great point there. The convergence between cybersecurity and physical security has so much promise and so much potential that we could do a separate webinar just on that topic, with the less potential that you get by converging physical security, cybersecurity, and then layering AI on top. Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, Eva. So we have about 9 minutes remaining on the webinar. So we will, I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions. Okay. Let's go over some of the Q&A right now. First question, is AI going to replace security operators? Interesting question. I guess, Dustin, do you want to take that? Because you directly deal with operators. You briefly touched upon this topic. Maybe you can elaborate a bit right now because of the question.
Yeah, I can expand just a little bit. So, I mean, no. I want to say no, because the human operator does not need to be replaced. We need to make them more efficient, right? So do we need as many operators? Maybe not. Do we need the correct operators looking at the correct data that's formulated into the correct insights? Yes. AI is just the helpful addition to make your operators more efficient and get your ROIs accurate. As John mentioned, everything is about cost savings and also identifying the correct threats appropriately, and AI will just help that. But getting rid of human operators, no.
Great point. AI is augmenting but not replacing. John, if you want to add anything quickly to that, if not, we have a lot of questions. So if you have a quick point to add to that, John, feel free to.
Yeah, but bottom line is AI still requires human input to, interpret and respond to incidents. So I would agree. Is it going to replace it? No. And, AI is still only developed a little bit. We still have a long way to go, like I mentioned earlier. So no, but there will be a day where AI is calling the police. But yeah, fear not, operators on this call. Governance and regulation will always, go hand in hand with AI.
Good point there. Let's jump to the next question. Does AI have use cases beyond security? Good question. John, maybe you must be the right person to start off on this. Use cases of AI beyond security in an organization.
Yeah, I know. Great question. Really, if we tie back the premise again, that AI can drive down time to perform tasks, augment staffing, processes can operate faster and smarter. And by the way, it can operate 24/7 in the background. Essentially can be applied across literally virtually any industry, especially those reliant on human labor. At Robinhood or any company with a VMS system, we are constantly collecting data. And so, one use case, as I mentioned earlier, was return to office, is the office and spatial utilization, using that data to inform how we design our offices, the purchase of snacks, drinks, driving down HVAC costs, saving literally millions of dollars in the last couple of years, and giving our execs insights into employee needs, which is always top of mind for senior execs in the company. We've even been asked about parking needs, assessing, how much parking is needed, trying to, make some predictions through sifting through so much data. And AI helps us do that. Also a funny one is monitoring the consumption of snacks, or overconsumption, if you will. People take a lot more than they probably should home. And there are certain people in our organization that want to know about it, And so I guess kind of as a final one, I think was really exciting was we partnered with our corporate engineering team this summer, and basically all of our employee facing data for our physical security team in terms of resources in our Confluence page got integrated into a Slack bot. And so now not only can employees get information instantly, but so can our GSOC. So when they're getting constant, inputs from employees and questions, they can get information really, really fast because there's so much that we have. But employees are our customers, at the end of the day, just like any business. And so, we too are focused on customer satisfaction and getting buy-in. So yes, AI goes far beyond security in the workplace, and it's evolving just like security is.
Great point. It also shows how security can move from a cost center and demonstrate value to the business. And great insight that employees
business enablers all day.
Exactly. Perfect. Dustin, do you add anything quickly to that? We have a lot of questions to cover.
John touched on a lot of the great use cases beyond security, but I just want to note one. Just the difference between and bridging those silos between cybersecurity and physical security, right? AI can really benefit in that realm alone, just by adding on security to add in your cybersecurity. Whether that be just one example before we move on, would be not allowing individuals to log onto a domain if they're not in the building, based on providing the card access and access control based on their location, right? So you can integrate those two systems to help. Again, that's more security, but it integrates two different types of security.
Great point, Dustin. You're talking about cybersecurity. Our next question is related to that. Does using AI make us more vulnerable to cybersecurity threats? Does using AI make us more vulnerable to cybersecurity threats? Eva, you're the best person on the panel to answer that. What do you think?
Yeah, sure, Sam. It's a great question, right? Because we're layering more software, more data that needs to be processed, more data that needs to be exposed to be processed, again, at various levels within the system. So short answer, no, it does not make us more vulnerable. Obviously, all these solutions need to be thought through from a proper security posture. So obviously starts with design. And then as you get through your design and the various layers of attack, looking at those attack vectors, working through the static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, all sorts of modeling that come into play. And then, of course, finally, with the penetration testing and then remediation. So I think all the solutions need to be orchestrated to play well together. And that is what's happening in the industry today. There is a lot more knowledge about tools. There's a lot more knowledge of those threat vectors. And I think this is, again, a trend to come to have our solutions be a lot more secure.
Thanks, Eva. AI will help us be more secure than, or increase our security posture rather than reduce it, assuming the proper controls are in place. Dustin, do you want to add anything to that? I know you have done your master's thesis on similar topics.
No, I mean, I would agree 100%. I mean, I did my master's thesis on Internet of Things, between the difference between convenience and vulnerability and what's more important. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to training and what people understand. Do you want to be more convenient with things, or do you want to be expose the vulnerabilities, or do you want to have things locked down and not have the convenience? As Sam mentioned before, Alexas and other voice operation things provides convenience, but not necessarily always the security you need. But AI specifically, as Eva said, it's about your groundwork. So if just adding additional softwares and data does not make your environment less secure.
Thanks, Dustin. Great points. And there are also controls available like SOC 2, penetration tests, and so on. Perfect. That's it. Let's wrap this up. We are almost at the end of our time. Thanks everyone for joining. Great discussion. Thank you to all three panelists. Great insights, great discussion. And I'll hand this over back to Raquel.
Thanks so much, Sam, and thank you to our panelists for a great discussion today. Now, we received a lot of questions today, so if we were unable to address your questions, please be on the lookout from a follow-up from a company representative, and they will address your inquiry directly. Now, to our attendees, we hope that you enjoyed today's presentation. In a moment, our program will conclude and an evaluation will pop up. The evaluation takes less than 3 minutes to complete, so please share your thoughts about today's program. Lastly, completion of this webinar is eligible for 1 CPE credit. CPE credit will be updated directly into your user profile within 48 hours of the webinar's conclusion. Thank you again for attending today's webinar. You will now be redirected to the program evaluation.